Hello, everyone. We're back with another episode of LMScast, and today's going to be really fun because it's all about gamification and learning management systems. And gamification's been kind of a buzzword for a while in not just the learning management system industry, but e-learning and gamification of all sorts of things. I've seen it in social media. I've seen it in gosh, I mean, it's getting kind of ridiculous. Even there's an app I have on my phone that's all about basically stats about my car, like when to get an oil change, and I get badges for when I get more oil changes. It's crazy where gamification has gone, and I think there's a huge opportunity for gamification to really positively affect the learning management system and e-learning industry. What do you think about that, Chris?
Absolutely. We had a previous episode about making quizzes more fun and as a way to get through the hangups we have about testing and quizzes. It should be fun. And sometimes the language we use makes a course fun or not, or it removes some baggage we have from our past learning experiences. But gamification is all about bringing the fun into the learning system.
Right, right. And there's a couple of companies that are doing that really well. Team Treehouse, which does some education for people who want to learn how to code or be a better web designer and that sort of thing. They have a massive amount of badges in there. They have a custom e-learning system, but it's pretty incredible, and it is very motivating. So I was doing some research on gamification in the e-learning space, and I found this article written by John Laskaris. I think that's how you say his name. And John did an incredible job at doing just putting together a bunch of facts about gamification in the e-learning industry. So I'm going to read some of these stats from his article, and then I'm actually at LMScast.com/gamification. We'll put a link to his article. And John, if you're listening or find our podcast, we'd love to have you on for an interview to talk specifically about what you're seeing, because I think this is just so interesting. We always talk about engagement and how engagement's really going to help change the online industry. And I think gamification is one way to engage students differently and help them retain more, as well as just get motivated and interested in learning. So one of the first statements he makes is e-learning is a $56.2 billion industry, and this year, 2015, it'll grow to a $107 billion market. It's the fastest growing market in the education industry. So with that's going to come a lot of rapid changes, I think, in gamification, and it's something to be really keeping our eye on. By 2015, 50% of organizations managing innovation processes will gamify aspects of their business. And then accordingly, 40% of the global 1,000 organizations will use gamification as a primary mechanism to transform business operations. So these are coming from a Gartner report. I think that what's most interesting about this report is really the next stat, which says 53% of responders in this survey that was being taken said by 2020 gamification will be widely adopted by most industries as a communication scene for all education. So it's just going to be part of how we do things in the future. And I think it speaks to the fact that we don't actually understand that most people in the American culture especially are becoming gamers. And there's a stat here. It says 75% of people are gamers, 50% casually, and 27 moderately to fairly often. And what's interesting is this has been true of like the Japanese culture. Like I lived in Asia for a while, so I saw the effects of games in their culture. I mean, everyone from the youngest of the young children all the way to the elderly are all playing games. They really enjoy it, and I think it's just been a matter of time before now, my mom at Christmas is showing me games she's playing on her iPad, and she's a retired first grade teacher. So we're getting okay with gaming, and then that translates over into when we learn, we want to experience some of the things that we experience in the games, like leveling up and points and that sort of thing. So I think it's really interesting, and the cost of implementing things like this are becoming cheaper. It's one of the things that we have in our lifterLMS. And Chris, what was the logic behind that? Because you were one of the people who really pushed us to build that feature in there. And I see now with these facts that that's a huge opportunity.
Well, gamification and the achievements that go with them, like you're talking about, the points and whatever the reward is, it's just it's not really a new way of learning. It's actually an old way of learning. So in the U.S., we have these organizations for children called the Boy Scouts, the Girl Scouts, the Brownies, but anyways, they get these kids when they learn a new skill, like how to build a fire, or how to use woodworking tools, they get a badge, and they actually wear that on their shirt or on their sash or whatever. Now, when we become adults, for some reason, after our teen years, society and in a pop culture sense has said enough of the games. Now all you do is you put letters at the end of your name, and that's how you get authority and status or whatever. But the thing is gamification works. People love learning when it's fun, and they like to kind of collect their own assortment of badges that is unique to them. So bringing the online space, like you mentioned, Team Treehouse has really brought that back by like making quizzes more fun, more like games to like master the material you just learned about. And then at the end, you get a little achievement. You get a little badge of completion or a thumbs up symbol, whatever it is. We're just trying to get the fun back in learning, and e-learning is perfectly positioned to do that.
Well, and I think I like what you're saying is I didn't even think about that. I was a Boy Scout, and I love getting those badges. Like, you know, I went from, you know, Bobcat to Cub Scout to Webelow to Boy Scout. You know, I didn't make it to the Eagle, but I was on my way up. And the interesting thing is it plays into whether or not I've vocalized it. I love that stuff, you know, and it's another stat here. It says almost 80% of learners say they would be more productive if their university or institution or work was more game-like. So people now, I mean, in this report, which is interesting, people are raising their hand and saying, I would like that. Like, it would make it more fun for me. And then the next stat he has is over 60% of learners would be motivated by leaderboards and increased competition between students. And we're starting to see that with some of the enterprise level custom learning management systems that we've been building for clients, that they're requesting that because, especially depending on the industry, it makes a lot more sense than others. But, you know, in any sort of sales organization or sales learning management system, sales people are generally pretty competitive and much more I would say focused on achievement than maybe other industries or other areas of learning, and they love that stuff. They eat it up. They love to see themselves progressing through the leaderboards. They love to see themselves on the top, and I really like that. I think that there's just so many techniques, and 4 of them that are mentioned in this article are, you know, progressing through different levels, you know, scores, just like points, avatars, so people being able to kind of create their own personality in the digital classroom, and then virtual currencies, which is one that I had never really thought of, to be honest. So you could like maybe award coins or points or something, some sort of currency that could be then redeemed for other things, which is an interesting feature that I would love to kind of think about in future releases of lifterLMS. That'd be really interesting. But I love the idea of gamifying courses. I think it's just so important to start thinking that way. It plays right into the engagement that we're so passionate about. And if people really want to have their information take root in someone's mind and their heart, they're going to do things like this to make it more, I would say, I guess meaningful. I think that when you get a badge, we love icons, and it goes back to the prehistoric period of like, I am so-and-so from this tribe. It's like, or I am the chieftain or something like that. It's all going back to how we were in older times, but I think that it's really important to start to distinguish people as they go through our online courses. It's really cool. It's really fun.
Absolutely. And that whole concept of digital culture, even though people sometimes act different online, like if you were to look at people's Facebook, you think everybody is like a rock star and like always on vacation. And like when you have your online persona, it's not necessarily an exact replica of your real life.
Yeah.
But the cool thing about digital classrooms and gamification is it's not that it's fake or whatever, but you get to kind of people just tend to be more like themselves or how they want to be, or you know, they try to forecast a future of like, this is the person I want to become, so I'm going to act like that online because it's easy to put up this kind of image or write this kind of bio about myself.
Right.
So digital culture is real, even though it exists in bits and not in atoms.
Mm-hmm.
But it's a part of that gamification. It allows, the reason we play games is it allows us to like explore these alternate realities, which is how we truly learn by entering these, you know, hypothetical situations.
I think it's great. Well, I'm excited to see how this industry changes and how we adopt gamification in the new year. And this episode will be at lmscast.com/gamification. And, you know, like I said, John, we love this article. We love the research that you did. Thank you so much for putting it together. And, you know, we would love for you to come on. I would love to have an interview with you and talk to you specifically about what you see as a trend here, and have you on LMScast. So if you're listening, please let us know. And until next week, Chris, do you have any final thoughts?
I would just close it out with a hypothetical thought experiment about gamification. And that would just be, it would be a what if I could question. And that would be to go back in time in your mind to a class that you went to in person that you really had to take, that wasn't much fun, and then, but you still remember it, and you don't have fond memories of that class. But think back to that class, whether it's math or science or English or whatever, and think about how you could have gamified that, if you could do anything to actually make that class fun. And I think you'll get a lot of great ideas of like how you can approach education in your online platform.
I love it. I think that's a great tip. All right. Well, thank you all for listening, and hit us up in the comments over at lmscast.com/gamification. And until next week, we will see you then.